It is no secret that we Indians are absolutely obsessed with our SUVs. I mean, just look at the market. You have your conventional SUVs, then you have entry-level SUVs, mid-size SUVs, luxury SUVs, crossovers that are basically hatchbacks wanting to be SUVs. You even have some sedans and MPVs that look like an SUV. I mean, clearly we have a problem. But what if you want all that in a well-bundled, well-rounded package? What if you want the compactness from a hatchback, the driving prowess from a sedan, and the practicality and road presence of an SUV? Of course, we have an option for that as well. It is this, the compact SUV. Now, if you're wondering why do we have these two SUVs in particular, it's because the Nexon, as you can see, has gotten an update. And it is one that takes it closer to the Hyundai Venue. How? Well, like the Venue, the Nexon 2 now gets a 120 horsepower turbo-petrol engine in BS6 tune, of course. And we want to find out if the updates Tata made helps the Nexon against one of the more popular models in the segment. And also for the fact that we don't have enough people to drive all the cars in the segment. But let's stick to the first reason. Now, facelifts are usually minor revisions to the design, not with the Nexon. You see, if you're a keen Nexon fanboy, you realize that the bonnet is now higher and much flatter. And what that has done is helped with pedestrian safety rating. This has a global NCAP 5-star rating, which is very, very good. Then you have the headlamps that are now much sleeker and blend into the grille, which gets this nice gloss black finish. Low down near the air intake, you again get the tri-arrow design and this 4-metal scuff plate that adds to the SUV ruggedness. Then you get the redesigned bumpers that are now squared off and you get this C-shaped bits for the fog lamp housing. It makes the car look slightly wider and gives it a better footprint. From the side, it is typical Nexon with this chunky white strip that is its signature now. And you also have a blacked out C-pillar which gives it that floating roof effect if you opt for the dual tone model. Now, there aren't too many changes with the rear of the Nexon. The most dominant one being the new tail lamp cluster that is redesigned, and like the front, you also get these squared off bumpers as well. The Nexon badge is now placed at the center, and overall it's pretty recognizable as a Nexon from the back than it is from the front. Now step inside the updated Nexon and the first thing you notice is this flat bottom steering wheel. I know what's a steering wheel like this doing in an SUV, but it's just nice to hold, it's nice to feel, and you know, with these contoured grips, it's a really good feeling to drive this car. Then you have the instrument cluster, which is fully digital now. Not the best because there's a fair amount of glare that comes in, and when you're driving during the day, you will have to adjust and squint just to see what's going on up there. Now moving on to the center console, it is vastly the same, which means you still have trouble getting to that USB port. What it does have in addition is this express cool button. Now what that does is if you've parked the car in a hot spot, the cabin is piping hot, you come in, press this, what the car will do is blast the AC, roll down the driver's side window and help the cabin cool faster. A very good addition if you ask me. Up top you have this 7-inch touchscreen, not the biggest in size, but the problem is that it's not even vibrant or responsive as some of its rivals, and that is something that feels lackluster in a car at this price. Then you have this nice bright panel which gives it a premium touch. Again, you have this tri-arrow design reminiscent of the whole theme. But again, it's easy to stain, but it does uplift the cabin just that much. And lastly, what's an SUV without a sunroof? Yes, this one has one too. It's a 3-switch layout, unlike the Venue, which gets a 1-touch sunroof. And basically, I know in India we use it to hang our kids from up there. Guys, please don't do that. That is not what the sunroof is for. It's to let in light and air. And what it does it really well. It gives the cabin an airy feel. And it's a very good addition, very premium. Step into the Venue and the first thing you notice is this dashboard that is set quite low. It does rob away some of its SUV-ness. You no longer sit high up. You feel like you're driving a hatchback, and that is something that customers might not like. Then you have this instrument cluster that again is analog, not like the digital one on the Nexon. Moving on to the center console, everything is nice, everything is typical Hyundai, fit finish levels are excellent. And you also have a lot more usable space here. You have 2 USB ports, one for fast charging, and you also get a wireless mobile charger. Of course, then you also have the sunroof, and like I said, do not put your head out of it. It's for light and air to come through. There are other feature additions in the Venue as well. For one, you get this air purifier, which now, given the situation, is the most important thing. And you also get 6 airbags as opposed to only the 2 that you get in the Nexon. The rear seat is where the Venue loses some points. You see, the cabin is just not big enough, you struggle for legroom, and if you're over 6 feet, which I am, and if you have long legs, which I do, the back seat is not the place for you. Width-wise too, you can sit 3, but it will be a squeeze. But what's good is this nice large window area that lets in a lot of light and helps just that much. Now jump into the back of the Nexon and you realize there's a lot more space here. You have more legroom thanks to these scooped out front seats, and the cabin is wide for 3 people as well. You also get decent headroom, but the addition of a sunroof has eaten up into the space. Now with this facelifted Nexon, you also get the new 120 horsepower turbo-petrol engine, and while that's just 10 horsepower more than the previous one, you definitely feel the difference. The thing is, it's still not as exciting as the Venue. You know, the power isn't as peaky, there's a lot less of that grunt you get from the Hyundai engine, and it's just not as exciting to drive as the Venue. Then there's this 6-speed manual gearbox. Now the gears are fine, they're well spaced out, they're well calibrated. Problem is the gates. You see, the gates are so close together, when you shift from second to third or third to fourth, you don't really know what gear you've slotted into. You often tend to look at the gear position indicator just to make sure, and that's quite odd when you're driving every day. Now in terms of driving, this Nexon is definitely behind the Venue. The suspension is softer, which means there's a fair bit of body roll, and even this flat bottom steering wheel is not doing anything for the handling. It's very vague, the grip is not there. Now this is the seat to be in the Venue, the driver's seat. You see the low set dash, the car-like driving position. It's quite engaging and quite exciting to drive. The engine too, even though it's still 120 horsepower, just as much as the Nexon, but it's so different in terms of character. You get the strong low-end grunt, you get nice pep from the engine in the mid-range, the turbo is nice and quick and responsive, and it's just such a more fun car to drive. Now this too, like the Nexon, gets a 6-speed manual gearbox, but the gears are so well defined, every gear slots perfectly into the gate, and it's just that much more engaging to drive. Now in terms of ride comfort, the Venue might not be as supple as the Nexon, but it definitely feels planted at high speeds. Yes, small bumps and broken roads do filter through, but it's not so bad, and what that does is help you when you're driving on a ghat road. It is just that much more stable, there's less of a body roll, and it's just, again, a better car to drive. Both these compact SUVs have their strengths and weaknesses, but the test was to find out, has the Nexon been updated enough for the customer to stop and give it a second thought? Or has the Venue, like most Hyundais, overpowered the Nexon yet again? Well, yes and no. You see, the Nexon might not beat the Venue in terms of outright performance and engine gearbox, but it does a lot of SUV things really well. For one, it looks the part. Second is the ride comfort, which just glides over bad roads. And third is the back seat, which is a lot more practical. But if you are the sorts that likes to be in the driver's seat and prefers the engine and gearbox to be at the top, the Venue is probably the one for you. You also get decent tech like 6 airbags and wireless charging, so it all boils down to what you want from your compact SUV. Either way, you have one for you.